Okay, class, today we're going to talk about the test 1-1 review. And this test is going to be over integers and mixed numbers. So let's begin. Okay, so what I'd like to do in this review is I want to work each problem and show you how to do it so that if you have questions at home, you can take a look at this video and see what you're doing wrong or see what you're doing right, whichever the case may be. Okay, so the first section of this test is going to be over integers. Just simple, plain up, straight up integers, add, subtract, multiply, divide. So we've got a couple of rules. If we have a plus problem, if we got plus problems, if our signs are different, we're going to subtract our numbers. So we're going to take the bigger looking one, the one that's farthest from 0, subtract the other one from it. So 22 take away 11 will give me 11. The 22 has more, it's farthest away from 0, it's got the greatest absolute value, so it's a positive 11. 34 plus negative 13, we do the same thing. It's a plus, our signs are different, so we subtract. And 34 take away 13 will give me 21. The 34 has the greater absolute value, so it's a positive 21. If we have a subtraction problem, we know we leave the first number alone, we change subtraction to addition, and the next number to its opposite, and then we go back to our addition rules. Okay, so this one, our signs are now different, so I subtract my numbers. 21 take away 8, you get 13. It's going to be a positive 13 because the 21 has a greater absolute value. In multiplication, we know that there's two steps. Step 1, multiply. 7 times 8 gives us 56. We have one negative, so my answer is negative. Okay, on number 5, back to a subtraction problem. So again, I leave the first number alone. I change subtraction to addition, and the next number to its opposite. So it's negative 31, so I turn it into a positive 31. And now we just add, and we end up with positive 51. Another multiply problem. So again, 12 times negative 4, we first multiply. 12 times 4 is 48. We look at how many negatives we have. I've got one negative, so my answer is negative. Number 7, the division problem. Okay, so we divide. 28 divided by 7 gives us 4. A negative and a negative make a positive, and you don't need a sign for a positive answer. Number 8, another division. 45 divided by 9 is 5. I have one negative, so my answer is negative. Now to the ones that are a little bit more fun. They have several things going on. Okay, so this first one's got an addition problem, but it's also got some minus in there. So we're going to go straight to the minus and change subtraction to addition, and the next number to its opposite. So we end up with 21 plus negative 15 plus 8 plus 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our positives and put them together. That would be the 21, the 8, and the 8. So 21 plus 8 is going to be 29, plus 8 more, it's going to be 37. And then I've got plus negative 15. So now that my signs are different, I'm going to subtract. So 37 take away 15 gives us positive 22 as my answer. Okay, now this one's got all subtraction. So I come in, I change subtraction to addition, the next number to its opposite. Subtraction to addition, next number to its opposite. So we end up with 32 plus 10 plus negative 14. So we add our positives together. 32 and 10 make 42 plus negative 14. We do one subtraction and we end up with positive 28 because the 42 has more. Okay, so that's all of the integers per se that are just straight integers. So now let's take a look at some mixed numbers. We know in addition and subtraction, our first step is to find a common denominator. So right underneath here, I'm going to rewrite. We'll write 4 with the fraction bar, plus 2 with the fraction bar. Now I'm ready to find my common denominators. So we start with the 5, and I go through the multiples of 5. 5 times 1 is 5. Can I turn the 4 into a 5? No. 5 times 2 is 10. Can I turn the 4 into a 10? No. 5 times 3 is 15. Can I turn the 4 into a 15? No. And 5 times 4 is 20. One way to always find a common denominator, it may not always be the smallest, but it's always one way to find it, and that's just multiply them together. So now that we found our common denominator, I change my numerators to match. What did I do to this 5 to turn it to a 20? I multiplied by 4. So I do the same thing to the 3. 3 times 4 gives us 12. What did I do to the 4 to turn it to a 20? I multiplied by 5, so I multiply the 1 by 5. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, so I found my common denominator. I changed my numerators. Now I add my numerators. 12 and 5 make 17. I keep my denominator. I add my whole parts. 4 plus 2 gives me 6. And then I try to simplify. And this one's as simple as it will get. Subtraction, we do the same thing. It's just instead of add our numerators and add our wholes, we subtract them. Okay, so here again we find our common denominator. So I've got 9 fraction bar minus 3 fraction bar. And we start with a 14. And we ask, can I turn the 7 into a 14? Yes, you can. So that becomes our common denominator. So what did I do to 14 to turn it to a 14? Nothing. So I don't do anything to the 9. What did I do to the 7? I multiplied it by 2. So I do the same to the 3 and get a 6. Now we subtract. 9 take away 6 is 3. Keep the denominator. And then 9 minus 3 is 6. And again, I can't simplify. So I'm done. What about multiply and divide? Now we know in multiply and divide, what we have to do is get fractions. We don't find common denominators, we get fractions. So if we have a mixed number, we're going to use the popcorn method to get our fraction. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, over 4, times 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, over 3. Okay, now at this point, we've got fractions, so we know to multiply fractions. I know I got them, so I could do top times top and get 45, and bottom times bottom and get 12. Now if you get that far, you get half the points on the test. But now we got to simplify. Now there's 2 ways of simplifying. For me, I would have never gotten 45 over 12 because I know I could simplify this problem. Remember, if there are numbers on top and numbers on bottom that have common factors, I can divide them. So I see the 3 and the 9, they have a 3 in common. So I could divide this 9 by 3 and get 3. I could divide this 3 by 3 and get 1. So now when I multiply, I've got 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 1 is 4. Either one of those answers are almost correct. We just have to simplify them further. So now I've got 15 over 4, so I ask myself, how many times will 4 go into 15? And it goes 3 times. Okay, so, and then I do 3 times 4 is 12, so I take 12 out of the 15, and I'm left with 3/4 is my answer. So 3 3/4 is my answer. For division, we do the same thing. Okay, we start off with getting fractions. So 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16 over 3. Now on the second one, we know that for division, it says to divide fractions, don't ask why, flip the second. So we're going to do the reciprocal of this 3 3/4, and then we're going to multiply. Okay, so we're going to do 4 times 3 is 12, 13, 14, 15. Now what I like to do again is write it up here, 15 over 4, so that when I translate it into the problem, I know I'm going to flip it into 4 over 15. And then times. Now at this point in time, we look, can I simplify anything? And you find out that no, you can't. Unfortunately, we can't. Okay, so we just multiply across, and we end up with 16 times 4 is 64. 3 times 15 is 45. Okay, and now we divide. How many times does 45 go into 64? It goes 1 time. So I subtract 64, take away 45. You get 19 over 45 as your final answer. Okay, so now to the word problems. Okay, now to the word problems. Let's take a look at these. On Thursday, the low temperature in Fairbanks, Alaska was minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit, and the high temperature was 19 degrees Fahrenheit. How much warmer was the high temperature than the low temperature? Okay, so this one we're comparing, so that means that we are subtracting. And it says high compared to low. So we're going to take that 19 and we're going to write it down first. A compare problem is subtract. So we're going to subtract negative 15 from that. Okay, so now to do the subtraction here, we know we're going to leave the first number alone. We're going to change subtraction to addition, and the next number to its opposite. It was negative, we now turn it positive. So now our signs are alike, so we add them together. So 19 and 15 would make 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, number 13, this one's a golf problem. Some of you may not understand golf too much, so I'm going to explain it. Par for a 9-hole golf course is 35. That's our starting number, 35. It says Sam was 2 under par for the first 5 holes. 2 under par means that we're going to subtract 2. Okay? 5 over par for the next 2 holes. So that's plus 5. And then 3 under par for the last 2 holes, minus 3. Okay, so this one's just a straight integer problem. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. Anytime we see a minus, we're going to come in, we're going to change subtraction to addition, and next number to its opposite. Subtraction to addition, next number to its opposite. Now this allows me to take my 35 and my 5 and put them together to get 40, and take my negative 2 and my negative 3 and put those together to get a negative 5. And then we do one subtraction problem, 35. Okay, and this one would be 35 strokes. Okay, because in golf, that's what we're counting. 2 more problems, and then we're done. Okay, number 14, a certain business made a profit of $500 in 1 week. The next week it lost 4 times as much as it had gained the week before. What were its losses that week? Okay, so first week we had $500. The second week, it lost 4 times as much. Okay, so that's basically 500 times negative 4, 4 times as much. Okay, so what were its losses that week? 500 times negative 4 is negative $2,000. And remember, the dollar signs always go in the front. All right. Number 15, last one. Bill and Mary Tucker's new car cost $27,350. After 4 years, the car will have changed in value of $3,500. What will be the average change in value of the car each year? Okay, so since we're trying to go from 4 years to each year, it's a division problem. So we have 3,500 divided by 4. So 4 goes into 3, it doesn't. 4 goes into 35, that goes 8 times. You get 32, you subtract, you get 3, bring down your 0. 4 goes into 30, goes 7 times, you get 28. Subtract, you get 2, bring down your 0. 4 goes into 20, 5 times, multiply, subtract, we get 0. So it says what will be the average change in value in the car each year. So in this one right here, since this number here is negative, what kind of a number is that 875? It's going to be a negative. So our answer for this problem would be negative $875 per year. So if you can do all of these problems, you will do well on the test.